Kia ora, good evening. Hundreds of Auckland port workers are tonight facing an uncertain future.
They've lost their jobs after the ports of Auckland struck a devastating blow in a bitter and long-running industrial dispute. But the union says the battle is far from over. Stephen Smith has been across the conflict since it began and joins us now. Stephen.
7 months of negotiations and we've reached what many would call the end of this dispute. Mass, widespread redundancies. But it isn't the end. Look, behind me the union workers are still on the picket line tonight even though they've been told their jobs are gone. Now 292 workers will begin formal redundancy procedures this Friday, and legal experts we've spoken to say there's next to nothing the union can do now to save these jobs. Jobless, but vowing to battle on.
But this isn't the end of it, comrades. This is the start. Don't be depressed about it.
But with nearly 300 workers losing their jobs, the war appears to have been lost. A harsh end for Maki Raukite, an Auckland wharfie for 30 years.
I'll stick with the boys right through to the end. I'm not going to give up.
John Garrier has worked this wharf for 46 years. Danny Belsham, 33.
We've been through some rough patches, but nothing we couldn't work our way through.
It is a sad thing, but I guess it's getting near time for me. I'm 64, so I'll be looking forward to a different life, obviously.
But the front man for this long-running campaign says there's still life in the Maritime Union.
We've got to get our heads together. We always knew it was coming. We have a bit of a strategy in place, and we'll be into that strategy shortly.
The port refutes union claims that it was planning redundancies all along.
That is not true. We were not plotting outsourcing until we got to a stage where the negotiations with the union showed that they could not, and they were against delivering the much needed changes that need to take place at the port.
Productivity is what it's after. The port says contracted staff are already more productive than the union workforce. The union says Auckland's mayor could have done more to protect workers at the council-owned port.
He went on a ticket of looking after working class people, and he's letting this go on. Absolute disgusting, his attitude in this.
I have a real strong sentiment for the working class people of this city, but I also recognise our broader responsibility as a mayor for all of Auckland.
The union's now warning the international fallout from this will be huge. Small consolation, though, for those who've lost their livelihoods. Now, it's not only union positions that are being made redundant. 235 union positions are going, but so are 57 non-union positions. Now, all of those people will be able to apply with the contracting companies to work here again. Now, the contractors are due to be in place, the port says, by late April, and the port says productivity gains from this move will be seen within the next 12 months. Now, as I said, the union says this isn't over, and it's planning to rally, a public rally in Auckland this Saturday.
All right, thanks, Stephen. Stephen Smith in Auckland.
Now, to give you a better understanding of the issues behind this bitter dispute, here's a bit of background. Ports of Auckland is owned by the Auckland Council, so ultimately the ratepayers of our biggest city are its owners. It handles 37% of the country's container trade, servicing up to 1,400 ships a year, or about 4 a day. Now, here's what some blame for fueling the dispute. The council has told the port to double its dividend from 6 to 12% over 5 years. And this has prompted a move to improve performance by adapting what the port is calling the competitive stevedoring model, successfully used by rival port of Tauranga to lift productivity. So how does that work? Well, simply put, loading and unloading work is contracted out to other companies, and this means dock workers aren't employed by the port itself and don't have to belong to a union. The competitive nature of bidding for port work and being performance-based theoretically should lead to more efficiency. And it's the flexibility offered by contracted firms at the heart of the battle with the union. Basically, the port wants union members to work under the same conditions as those employed by contractors.
And the industrial fallout is moving south, with port workers at Lyttelton refusing to unload a container ship due to arrive in about an hour. The Maritime Union set up a picket at the port entrance, targeting the container ship Lisa Schult, which they say was loaded by non-unionised labour in Auckland.
We're a national union. It's like that. It's not just about, it's about not just about workers in Auckland. It's like about all workers in New Zealand.
About an hour ago, the port company went to the employment court seeking an interim injunction to stall the industrial action. As yet, there is no decision from that hearing. Another industrial dispute is set to continue, with staff from the country's biggest rest home company threatening more action. Hundreds of workers staged a morning and afternoon strike today as pay negotiations with Oceania continue to stall.
We had mediation on Monday. The unions showed a willingness to move our position in order to reach a settlement. Oceania's refused to budge. They're trying to bully our members into accepting a pay offer which is little more than the minimum wage.
Oceania disputes claims made by the union that untrained volunteers have been called in to help out at the 21 facilities affected. Another strike notice has been issued for March 19.